What if speaking your truth at work could cost you your job or your career? And how do you decide if it's worth the risk? Welcome to Managing a Career, the podcast that helps you navigate the path to professional success. I'm your host, Lane Robinson. Each episode, we explore the ins and outs of taking charge of your career, from developing skills you need to succeed to building a network that can help you advance, and everything in between. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned professional, I've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready to take control of your career with Managing a Career. Welcome back to the Managing a Career podcast. I'm your host, Lane Robinson. Recently, headlines have been buzzing about the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live following comments that he made that some consider politically controversial. Now, most of us don't have late-night talk show as our platform, but we do have jobs, reputations, and careers to protect. And the reality is, how we choose to express our opinions, especially on polarizing topics, can have very real consequences. Today, we're going to explore how you can hold on to your authentic voice at work without putting your career at risk. And what do you do if your values in your workplace no longer align? Most workplaces, especially those with public-facing roles, expect employees to balance their personal values and opinions with those of the brand, the stakeholders, any regulatory standards, and audience expectations. In industries like media, public service, or any position with visibility, the cost of speaking out can be especially high. In Jimmy Kimmel's case, the fallout wasn't just about his employer's decision. It involved political pressure, public backlash, and even affiliate networks stepping in to pull his content. The lesson here is that consequences don't always come from your direct manager. They can come from third parties who hold influence over your career. And when your values are deeply held and they conflict with those external forces, it becomes almost inevitable. The harder, more personal question is, how much risk are you willing to accept, and at what cost, professionally, financially, or socially? The first step in navigating this tension is recognizing the warning signs that your personal convictions may be on a collision course with workplace expectations. These signs can show up in different ways. Maybe you find yourself constantly biting your tongue in meetings, avoiding topics you care deeply about, or feeling uneasy when leadership takes a stance that conflicts with your own beliefs. Sometimes it's more subtle. You notice growing tension of isolation, frustration, or even cynicism about the work you're doing. Other times it's external, like colleagues hinting that your comments could raise eyebrows, or managers steering you away from sensitive discussions. Left unchecked, these signals often build towards bigger conflicts that can damage both your reputation and your career trajectory. Once you recognize the risks, the next step is learning how to balance authenticity with professionalism. A good starting point is understanding the official boundaries. Review your employer's code of conduct, commentary policy, and social media guidelines. If you're uncertain, ask confidentially about what's acceptable and what isn't. You may not always get precise answers. Many policies are intentionally broad, but document what you ask and what you are told. Clarity in writing gives you something to lean on later if questions come up. When discussing sensitive issues, focus on data, evidence, and organizational values rather than ideology. For example, framing a point as, "Our mission includes fairness and transparency," often resonates more than stating purely personal beliefs. That doesn't make you immune from backlash, but it does anchor your perspective in shared ground. You can also test your message by running it past trusted colleagues, considering your audience, and preparing to clarify if needed. Not every forum is equally safe for expressing views. Internal meetings, private memos, or small group conversations may allow more nuance, while public statements demand constant caution. A good rule of thumb: treat anything you say as permanent and potentially shareable. Ask yourself, if this were broadcast on the evening news, would I stand by it? Another overlooked safeguard is your reputation. People extend more grace when they see you as competent, fair, and constructive. Building trust takes time, but it also creates a buffer. Colleagues are more likely to interpret your voice as thoughtful rather than combative. That means documenting your achievements, investing in relationships, and avoiding the perception of being the constant dissenter. Finally, don't ignore the legal landscape. In some industries or jurisdictions, protections exist for speech, whistleblowing, or political expression. However, these safeguards are uneven, often narrow, and pursuing them can be costly. Before speaking out on highly controversial issues, consult HR, legal counsel, or trusted advisors. Weigh the cost and understand the limits before assuming protection. Sometimes, no matter how careful you are, you'll find that your values and your company's expectations simply don't align. At that point, you face two choices: sacrifice your convictions and stay, or look for an organization that better reflects your beliefs. Neither path is easy, and both come with trade-offs, but clarity about what you stand for makes the decision more manageable. Start by writing down the values you consider non-negotiable: integrity, equity, free speech, transparency, or whatever matters most to you. Then, make a second list of areas where you're willing to be flexible. This exercise not only helps you evaluate potential employers, it also gives you language to use in interviews about the kind of environment where you will thrive. When researching companies, don't stop at their mission statements. Compare their public promises with their actual behavior. Read culture reviews, browse employee testimonials, and analyze industry reports. Use LinkedIn and Glassdoor to get insider perspectives, but also go deeper. Talk to current and former employees whenever possible. Companies often market themselves one way and behave another, and careful research reduces unpleasant surprises. Beyond research, build relationships with people inside values-aligned organizations. Attend events, volunteer, or contribute to professional communities that reflect your priorities. These connections often open doors that job boards won't, and they give you an unfiltered look at how companies' culture actually operates. When you're interviewing, don't shy away from values. If asked about culture or past challenges, share thoughtful examples of times you stood for something important. Show how you handled disagreement with professionalism, and how you added value while staying principled. This both filters out poor fits and signals to potential employers that you are not combative, but intentional and thoughtful. Of course, leaving a company over values does have a cost. You may sacrifice salary, seniority, or perks in the short term. That's why preparation matters. Build a financial cushion, lean on your support system, and have a plan B in place. With those safeguards, you reduce stress and regain leverage, making it easier to choose the path that aligns with who you are. So, what can we actually learn from Jimmy Kimmel's situation, and how might it apply to your own career? First, recognize that Kimmel operates with advantages most professionals don't. He has an established platform, a loyal audience, and a reputation built over decades. That gives him more leeway than the average employee. For many of us, the margins are far narrower, and trying something similar could trigger far heavier consequences. Second, notice how quickly the fallout escalated. The issue didn't stay contained between Kimmel and his employer. It spread outward to political figures, affiliate networks, and regulatory bodies. Once external stakeholders entered the picture, the stakes multiplied rapidly. In corporate life, the same can happen. Comments made internally or online can attract scrutiny from clients, partners, or even the press. Third, the narrative matters. Kimmel's remarks were interpreted, rightly or wrongly, as attributing political motives before all the facts were known. In a polarized climate, uncertainty can be weaponized, and the way you frame and qualify statements can make the difference between sparking dialogue and sparking outrage. And finally, while consequences can be steep, there's another side. Authenticity has its defenders. Many rallied around Kimmel's right to speak freely. For professionals, this highlights a paradox. Standing by your convictions can invite risk, but it can also earn respect, strengthen your personal brand, and position you as principled. The key is to weigh whether the potential reputation upside is worth the professional cost. Let's turn this practical. Here are several concrete things you can do this week and this month to help you keep your voice and your job, or if needed, move towards work that matches your convictions better. Conduct a values audit of your current role. Write down 3 to 5 values that matter most to you. For each one, rate how your current job or employer supports or undermines it. Then ask, which gaps can you influence and which are baked into the structure? This gives you a clearer picture on whether the change is possible from within. Practice a small-scale, principled conversation. Choose a topic that's meaningful but not explosive, and frame your input in language tied to shared mission or goals. Try it in a meeting, email, or a one-on-one with your manager. Notice the response. Do people engage constructively, or do they push back? Each attempt is a low-risk way to learn what works in your environment. Document and build your reputation. Protecting your voice starts with credibility. Do excellent work and seek out projects or committees that align with your values. Share thought leadership, whether internal memos, blog posts, or external content, but share it in ways that fit the professional context. Over time, this positions you as thoughtful and principled, but not combative. Next, explore options for better alignment. Research organizations you respect. Follow their leaders, study how they respond to challenges, and look at how they act when values are tested. Conduct informational interviews and ask directly, how does your company handle political, ethical, or controversial issues? The answers often reveal more than a website or annual report ever will. Finally, sketch out a transition plan in case it's needed. If you discover a serious mismatch, start planning proactively. Define what role you want and in what type of organization. Begin positioning yourself through networking, skill building, and saving so that you can make a move without desperation driving your decisions. These steps don't require dramatic gestures, but they do create momentum. Bit by bit, you either build a stronger foundation where you are, or you prepare yourself for a transition to a place where your convictions and your career can coexist. Being authentic, keeping your convictions and your voice is deeply fulfilling. It builds integrity, self-respect, and sometimes even strengthens your reputation. But authenticity without strategy is risky. Too blunt, too public, too early, or unclear, consequences can be heavy. Jimmy Kimmel's experience reminds us that even those with large platforms and strong support can face backlash. The smartest move isn't silence. It's speaking with awareness, preparation, and alignment. This week, challenge yourself. Pick one situation where a value is being tested and plan a constructive approach. Reach out to a mentor or peer for feedback. Is my voice coming across as intended? Research 2 to 3 organizations you respect and understand how they handle values conflicts. If you found value in this episode, share it with someone who cares about authenticity at work and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Let's build a community of professionals who speak up wisely and shape careers that reflect who they truly are. Thanks for listening. I'm Lane Robinson. Stay true, stay intentional, and until next time. Taking control of your career is entirely up to you. No one else will do it for you. So don't be afraid to take the actions that will help you reach your professional goals. I hope this episode has provided you with valuable insights and advice. If you want to stay up to date with the podcast, be sure to subscribe in your podcast player of choice and visit managingacareer.com to submit show topics and link to our community. For Managing a Career, this has been your host, Lane Robinson. And remember, own your career and navigate the path to professional success.